Hi, welcome back. Now that the people at American Airlines had this great idea for increasing revenue, they needed to figure out how to do it. So let's write down what the problem is that they're trying to solve. So let me scroll down here. Let's see. So now instead of having one fare from JFK to Miami, they have two fares. So let's write those down here. Let's call those fare high FH, and that was $150. And then let's call the $75 fare low. And we saw from our example, we said that after the charter came in and started charging $75, there were still 100 people who were willing to pay $150 to travel on the airline. So the challenge the airline has now is, how do I sell these 100 customers the $150 fare and only the seats that these people wouldn't have bought at the $75 fare? Because these 100 people, while they're willing to pay $150, they would prefer to pay $75. So if the airline comes in and just offers two fares, well, certainly everybody's going to buy the $75 fare, and no one's going to buy the $150 fare. So they needed a way of segmenting the market so that these looked like two different products, so that these customers would only buy the higher fare product and wouldn't buy the lower fare product. And then the seats that would otherwise go unsold could be sold to the $75 customers. So the airline decided to segment the market between leisure customers and business customers. Segment market. So business customers tend to book close into their departure. They stay at their destination for short periods of time to conduct their business, and they're not really very price sensitive like leisure customers are. Leisure customers have a lot of flexibility in their travel plans. They can stay over weekends. They tend to book well in advance and spend a lot of time shopping for the lowest price. So the airline could create different products around these travel characteristics. While there's certainly some overlap between these two types of customers, they do behave differently. And if the airline can figure out a way to charge the business customers $150 and the leisure customers the $75, then they have a chance at improving revenue and keeping these business customers from buying the lower fare. So the idea is that the business customers are willing to pay $150. They're willing to pay $75, but if the only thing that's offered to them is $150, they'll go ahead and pay that fare. The leisure customers are only willing to pay $75. They're not willing to pay $150. So if there wasn't this low fare in the market, these customers wouldn't travel. So the airline wanted to come up with a new product that would be very appealing to the leisure customer, but not appealing at all to the business customer, so they wouldn't buy it. And the product that American Airlines created was called the Super Saver Fare. The Super Saver, and they placed restrictions on this fare to keep business customers from buying it. So they put a 21-day advance purchase restriction, we'll just say AP, so you had to purchase this ticket 21 days prior to travel, and there was a Saturday night stay requirement, Saturday night, so you had to stay over a weekend, and it was a round-trip fare. And in this way, they created a product that was deeply discounted but not very appealing to business customers. Business customers don't tend to know their travel plans that far out. They don't like to stay over the weekend. They don't always return to the place that they departed from. Now, there's certainly some business customers that would qualify for this, but this worked pretty well to segment the market between those customers who are willing to pay a higher fare and those customers who would only travel if the lower fare was offered. So let's go back to the example we were using before and see what would happen if the airline added this additional fare to the market. So now the airline has two fares in the market, the original $150, and we said that even after the charter carrier came in at the new $75 fare, the airline would be able to sell 100 seats at $150. And let's say that they add the Super Saver fare at $75 and they're able to sell 40 of those seats. And they've successfully segmented the market so that all of the people who are willing to pay $150 are still paying that $150 and not paying the $75. Well, we multiply this out and we get a new total revenue figure of $18,000. Well, they have the same cost at $16,000. So now our profits are $2,000. Now note, it's not as good as it was prior to the charters coming into the market, but it's better than the do nothing response, which was just leave their fare at $150, or matching the charter fares. Both of those scenarios would have resulted in a loss. The ability to add the new fare to the market and segment those different products results in an improved profitability picture. Now that the airline has figured out that they can increase revenue by adding fares to the market, the next thing they need to do is determine how many seats to allocate to each fare. What I mean by that is the airline needs to decide how many seats to set aside for these higher fare customers so that when the lower fare customers are shopping, they don't buy those seats. The lower fare customers, the customers who are buying the $75 seats, are going to purchase their seats before the higher fare customers do. So in our example, there were only 40 seats sold at $75. Let's say that there's really demand for 200 seats at $75. Well, if the airline doesn't put some limit on the number of seats that can be sold at $75, all of the seats will be sold at the lower fare, and when the higher fare customers come along, there won't be any seats left for them to buy. So while we said the rationale for this whole thing was sell as many seats at $150 and then only sold the ones that wouldn't have been sold anyway at $75, the booking behavior actually works the other way around. The lower fare customers show up first, so the airline has to forecast the demand at the higher level and then set aside enough seats so that those customers will be able to purchase that fare when they come along. And getting that forecast wrong can be very costly for the airline, because if they set aside too many seats, they may go out with empty seats that they should have sold at the lower fare. If they set aside too few seats, then they're going to sell too many lower fare seats and turn away higher fare customers. Now, the subsequent videos are going to be all about how airlines go about that forecasting and optimization. We'll look at the various forecasting techniques like moving averages and exponential smoothing. We'll examine the different approaches to optimization, such as EMSR, linear programming, nonlinear programming. We'll take a look at the different levels of inventory control, such as leg level revenue management, O&D revenue management, the different control mechanisms such as bid prices or seat protection levels. We'll cover a variety of topics, and the information that you learn here will be just as applicable outside of the airline industry as it is within the industry. So I hope you'll join me on those videos. I'd love to hear your feedback, and thanks for watching.